Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and for the past few days I have been um, playing the Gauntlet with a new character. After I died, I kind of tilt re-rolled into the only thing I was possibly going to re-roll, and that is a bow character using a Doomfletch Prism. Since I had the prophecy very early on into the Gauntlet, I thought, hey, if I ever die, maybe I'll make a Doomfletch Prism dude. And I just started leveling bow character and thought, fuck it, I'll see how far this takes me, and just zoom my way through the game. At this stage, I am currently the rank 2 Deadeye on the Gauntlet. It's not a very hard title to be achieving. It's level 88, I think, and that's enough because the entire Deadeye thing is just a graveyard. And I'll talk more about this character in a sec, but the Gauntlet that I was playing for this character for the past week or some shit was interrupted with Endless Heist, and I'll just talk about that event a little bit real quick as well. So the Endless Heist started just a few days ago, and it was... Yeah, I don't know, there's not much to say. It was exactly as I expected it to be, not very worth playing. Basically, when they first announced all of these events, one a week, a lot of them sounded pretty interesting. Atlas Invasion in particular sounds very cool. When I saw Endless Heist, I was like, yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense, and I don't see why we'd be wanting to play that. Ultimately, that came to fruition. It wasn't going to be much of anything. I imagined it would be something you could maybe sink your teeth into for a few hours and have a bit of short-term fun, but the main problem with something like an Endless Heist is it just doesn't serve any purpose. Endless Delve was kind of a novelty in its own right when it first showed up, because it was the first of its kind. Hey, maybe we can just do an endless event that you can keep delving deeper and nothing but delve. Cool. That kind of makes sense because it's a system like that keeps tunneling, snaking down, and it's pretty streamlined, and it flows, and it's fluid, and on top of that it's got infinite scaling. So even if your character does get strong enough, it can keep taking on more content and having more fun by being challenged continually. Heist doesn't really have that. It's got a lot of stop-start. It's got some real, tedious shit you got to complete to start to feel good, like getting your members of the heist leveled up and geared up and all of that. And then on top of that, once your character is geared up and high enough level, there's nothing left to challenge you. It just becomes grinding the higher tier heists pretty comfortably because your character is just good, and that's it. There's no scaling, there's no boss fights, there's no original game to really test yourself against anymore. So it seemed like it was always just going to fall a bit flat, even if you got into it, and then ultimately it's just going to be about people who can stomach grinding 83 maps or contracts over and over for the highest level. It was pretty meaningless. That said, the event itself could have still done better, but it's basically just one-for-one heist put in and then said endless. The only thing you can do is this, but they gave a few starting uniques. Ultimately, I do feel that they, if they're going to do events like these, they need to at least try a bit harder for them to make them more of a custom event. So have an endless heist like this, but maybe level your rogues up faster, with better gear or some shit, so that it doesn't feel as tedious. Make it drop earlier, make currency more available or something. But actually tailor make it for such an event, so that it makes sense to play and makes sense to have as a standalone event, as opposed to kind of an afterthought. I feel like there's kind of a wasted opportunity because for most people, especially casuals that just want to test out a bit of a new event, it's just not going to be very good. And as well as that, the XP seems pretty slow, so it was kind of a grind, especially compared to an Endless Delve, which we have a direct comparison to, because it was only a couple weeks ago. The heist, after 7 hours, I was level 56, whereas in Delve, after 7 hours, I think I'm level 80 something. So big difference there. So in any case, that's that out of the way. To then get a bit more back into what was more the purpose of the video, the Deadeye. This character, for the Gauntlet, I decided to just kind of YOLO. And I didn't have it in me to, treat the Gauntlet as a big threatening thing again, and like just live in fear. So instead I turned this character into a zoomer. And I haven't done a zoom bow build in a while, and they are pretty much the meta on softcore right now for quantity farming. So you slap on a Wind Ripper, a bunch of quantity gear, and then chain farm towers over and over again for headhunter cards and scourge loot and stuff. This is basically a similar concept. I just used my Doomfletch, decided to let the skills take me where they could, and Lightning Arrow more or less fell into place as the best zoomer skill, and just the nicest overall feel for safety, since it's got such an instant snap attack that crushes all kinds of enemies around you, shatters them, all that. So we are just basically a pure Lightning Arrow build, and I've decided to more or less ignore the single target problem by just not doing any. So I don't have any single target in this build. I use some shrapnel ballistas for a bit of extra damage because they've got a lot of flat fizz, and that scales well with Doomfletch, but otherwise, my gear is just going to be trash, solo self-found hardcore crap, and that doesn't lend to good single target for a bow character ever. Bow characters need heavy investment on gear to do any good bossing. So essentially I'm just ignoring bosses. I haven't done like almost any bosses in any of these maps, and if something is taking too long to die, we just move past it. So the strategy is to just build a character that's got 4,500 life. It's got a lot of evasion. It's capped on spell suppress, so I can take some hits here or there if I need to, but for the most part, a lot of my passive tree is revolved around movement speed, attack speed, and bit of crit, bit of damage. So just killing things quickly and trying to never succumb to standing still for too long or taking any damage in the Gauntlet. And it's turned into a good zoomer character, and like I said, I think I'm almost level 89 at this point, farming mostly white tier maps, which is all that I've got basically. I do the yellow maps that I get occasionally, but I need a 6-link to really try and tackle those maps more comfortably. I press the Scourge button up to about 100-150 stacks of Scourge typically, do my Deliriums and all that. So basically we have made the Gauntlet our bitch by just farming XP and zooming through everything instead of being threatened by it. The high end of the Gauntlet, end game bosses and shit with all these Gauntlet mods, very oppressing and feels terrible, and that's why there's only a couple of builds that will be taking it on. Otherwise, it's just a bit of a challenge to survive, and you can see, if you look at the Deadeye ladder, just about every Deadeye is dead, and it's very hard to live on the non-meta tanky ascendancies. But it's been fun, and Lightning Arrow, or just in general a zoomer character like this, pretty good, pretty worthwhile to make on low currency, and you can farm towers. You can just farm low-end maps and go quantity farming, and it does pay off if you really enjoy that type of grind. This type of character just really isn't for me personally, but it's what had to do to try and push a few ranks and just get through the game a bit quicker in the Gauntlet. But the Gauntlet, pretty damn impressive, and by this character, not for me, I mean just too fast. It's just too much micromanagement, too quick gameplay, and it just isn't really what I enjoy. I like taking it just a little bit slower. In any case, I'll leave the POB of this build. There's not really much to describe or anything, so I'm not going in depth into it. Just leave you the POB as a Deadeye with bit of damage from Lightning Arrow. Not really a build you should be thinking of taking to any end game or copying too thoroughly. Maybe just a bit of a loose idea for some white tier maps. So thank you very much for watching, and see you guys next time.